How to make the most of podcast conferences. If you're not making time to attend podcast conferences, you really are missing out. I myself attend several conferences each year, and it is a great way to accelerate your learning, network with other podcasters, and inject a kind of dose of freshness into your podcast. So this episode of the Legit Podcast Pro, that's what we're talking about right after. Well, hello and welcome back to Legit Podcast Pro, the show that takes you behind the scenes of podcasting to explore the legal, ethical, and business aspects that shape this ever-growing industry. I'm your host, Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, and I'm getting ready to attend the Podcast Movement Conference in Denver in just a couple of weeks. And that got me thinking, so for this episode, I thought I'd do something a little different with the show and give you some tips on how to maximize your experience and get some real value out of attending these kinds of conferences. But before I dive into those tips, I just want to invite you to check out something I've just released that I want you to know about. It's a free on-demand training, webinar, video, call it what you like, titled Podcast Legal and Business Affairs, Big Mistakes and Easy Solutions. In this 45-minute long session, you will gain some important insights and practical strategies to help you overcome the most common legal and business challenges that podcasters face. Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting out, this training is designed to empower you with the knowledge you need to succeed in growing and making more money from your show or channel. You will discover common legal pitfalls and how to navigate them, gain actionable strategies to protect your podcast from potential risks, streamline your business affairs with smoother operations and growth, and you'll learn how to boost your podcast to get the legal stuff handled without breaking the bank. So if you're ready to transform your podcasting journey and take your show to the next level, register now and access this on-demand training right away by visiting gordonfiremark.com/podcaster training. All right, now let's get to the meat of this thing. Participating in industry conferences like Podcast Movement, Podfest, and others can offer podcast creators a range of valuable opportunities and benefits. So here are just a few compelling reasons why you should consider attending conferences. Networking opportunities. These things bring together professionals from across the industry, fellow creators, producers, advertisers, tech experts. And attending these events provides a unique chance to network and build connections and collaborate with like-minded individuals. You might meet potential guests or co-hosts or sponsors or mentors who will contribute to the growth and improvement of your show. They provide knowledge and education. These conferences feature a diverse lineup of speakers and workshops, panels that cover a whole range of podcasting topics, sessions that will provide valuable insights into trends and best practices and strategies for content creation, marketing, monetization, and all the latest tech goodies. You can learn from experienced professionals and gain new skills. It'll also provide inspiration and creativity. Exposure to a variety of perspectives and ideas will spark your creative juices and innovation in your podcasting endeavors. Attending conferences allows you to see what others are doing, how they're pushing the boundaries, experimenting with formats and storytelling and all those kinds of things, and building engagement with their audiences. That'll get you thinking about new approaches, and it puts fresh energy into your show. It will also help you with access to industry tools and services. The conferences always have an expo component to things, exhibit areas where you can look at equipment and software and hosting platforms and analytics tools and all kinds of other stuff. And you can touch it and talk to the people who built them, and it's just amazing. And finally, it provides some visibility and promotion. These conferences are a great place to showcase your show and gain a little exposure, whether it's from the panel discussions, speaking opportunities, network interactions. You can introduce your show to a broader audience and might even attract some listeners, collaborators, or sponsors who you'll find at the conference. So have your information ready. This can be an investment, of course, of both time and money. So you want to make sure you are fully prepared to maximize the opportunities that conferences offer. So here are a few tips of my own in no particular order to help you get the most out of attending conferences. First off, save money by registering early. Most conferences jack up the price every couple of weeks. The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. And look, if you can't make it at the end, at the last minute or something, you can usually find a buyer, someone you can sell your ticket to or give it to a friend or something. So it's always best if you can to invest early and plan it. Book your airfare and your hotel ahead too. Those things are often cancelable fairly close to the event. Again, costs of these things go up as the date gets closer, and the hotels often sell out, and then you end up across town and having to commute and those kinds of things. Always best if you can be at the hotel where the event is being held. Get the schedule. Identify your must-see presentations. This is all part of planning ahead. Figure out what you really, really want to see. Figure out a few of the nice-to-see sessions as well. But don't overplan your days. It is really great if you can leave some room for serendipity, because so much of what you gain from attending these conferences happens in the hallways and not inside the session presentation rooms. Set some goals for your attendance there. If you want to meet people, and you can identify, usually the conferences have an app or something that'll tell you who else will be there. Identify a few people, reach out to them in advance if you want to meet them and try to make an appointment or something. But also just, what do you want to take away? I find that, you sit through an hour-long session at a conference. If you have one or two sort of nuggets of gold value that you can take away, that's considered a big success. So set some goals and then try to hit them. Try to, get your takeaways, meet your people, and so on. But above all else, be flexible, because as I said, a lot is just in the organic fact that you're there and connecting with other people. It's important that you stay healthy also, both before and during, and for that matter, after the conference. So do what you can to eat healthy, hydrate plenty, especially at these conferences where you're in air-conditioned rooms all day. It gets dry, it gets weird feeling. Sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's cold. Try to get some exercise, work out at the conference hotel, or go for a run or a walk, or at least do some stretching. Some of the conferences will have like an early morning yoga session or something like that. Do what you can to make sure your body is at its strongest and that you're able to get the most out of the conference, and that you don't find yourself needing to stay in bed longer, or worse yet, being sick and having to stay in bed all day. I just heard from a friend who attended a conference and spent more than half the whole time in bed, sick as a dog. So try to be healthy. Look out for your health before you go to the thing, so that when you get on that plane the first morning, again, you're probably getting up early and your routines are going to be changed. So do what you can to be well rested and those kinds of things going in. I always try to travel the day ahead, so I'm in town at the conference when it starts, rather than sort of arriving as it starts or even after the fact. If you can do that, it makes great sense, and stay through the whole conference onto the last day, or even sometimes the day after, depending on the time zones and whatever else. But it's often easiest to just have a last night after the event ends and visit with a few people, and then get on the plane, go home the next morning. Prepare for the climate of wherever your show is going to be held. Sometimes these conferences are in big metropolitan areas. Sometimes, one of them is held in Orlando every year. That's the PodFest. Podcast Movement moves around. This year it is in Denver. Denver is a mile higher in altitude, and that is going to have an impact on you and how you feel and how the event goes. So it's going to be hotter in the daytime and colder at night, drier air, thinner air, higher UV index, and those kinds of things. So you're going to want to bring supplies, sunscreen, a hat, lip balm. Bring your water bottle, fill it up, and make sure you're hydrating all day long. And bring a sweater or a jacket. Yes, even in the summer, even when the conference is in Florida, you might want to have a jacket. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes it's just, cold in the conference room sessions and so on. So be sure you're prepared so you're not uncomfortable. Leave your introversion in the hotel room. Look, everybody who goes has their own personalities, but some people are extroverts and some are introverts. But these events are all about networking, meeting, and so on. So agree with yourself that you're just going to check that introvert part of you at the door and do your best to enjoy meeting a few people. Now, that doesn't mean you have to meet everybody. And some of these crowds can be pretty, large and overwhelming. So if you find yourself getting uncomfortable in a situation like that, maybe just set a goal of, I'm going to talk to 3 people. I'm going to go over to that little group and I'm going to, invite myself in or whatever. But really, these kinds of things, everybody wants to talk about their stuff. So don't be afraid to, listen first and then chime in with your own stuff. Assume that everybody at these conferences, especially podcasting conferences, assume that everybody is wearing a pin on their shirt that says, "Ask me about my podcast." So you have permission to start a conversation with, "Hey, what brings you to the conference? What do you do? Why are you here? What's your show? What's it about? How long have you been doing it?" All those kinds of things. Be curious about everybody that you meet and be helpful. Everybody's here to learn. Everybody's here to gain something. Ask them, what brings you? What do you hope to gain from coming here this week? Whatever. And if there's something you can do or offer them or advice, or maybe you know someone that they're looking to be introduced to somebody from a such and such company, do what you can to help. That's what this is really about. One thing I will say is don't eat alone. Everybody has to eat. These conferences have lunch breaks, and you often are standing in it's kind of a long line to get into the restaurant or to get to the snack bar or whatever else. It's easier, if you're looking to sit at a table with a few other people rather than by yourself. You're more likely to get seated quickly. But this is a great opportunity for meeting people and talking in a situation where everybody needs to take care of this stuff. So there you go. Rest when you can. If you find yourself getting tired, first of all, take a break. Go find a quiet corner, go back to your hotel room or whatever, and take a rest. It's okay. Don't be afraid of missing out on something. You'll always get value from things, but if you need rest, get it. Give it to yourself. Be kind to yourself, because you'll have more energy when you're back at it. Now, that I should say, don't plan to nap the whole afternoon away or anything, but get a little rest. Take a break. Give yourself breaks planned into the day. Go sit in the pool or the jacuzzi or the hot tub, or whatever. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself and give yourself that rest. Especially if you're that introvert, those big crowds can really get to you. Take a few minutes at a time to just take some breaths and be quiet and experience a little silence. Calming meditation can be really valuable. Don't worry about doing it all. Get out there and do stuff. Work the hallways. Talk to people, attend the conferences. But if you don't have it, if you miss something, it's not the end of the world. The information will be there. Maybe talk to somebody else who did attend the thing. It's another topic of conversation. Hey, I was disappointed. I wasn't feeling well, so I took a little break, and I missed this session about that. Did you happen to attend it? And there you go. You got a conversation. Work the hallways. Get out there and meet people, and look for opportunities to join a conversation. People are laughing and having a good time. Smile and walk over and say, "Hey, I'm Gordon. What's up with you? What's going on here?" If it's rare, I've never seen anybody sort of shun someone else for coming over and asking, "Can I join your group a little bit?" Here's a tip. There are a lot of parties at these conferences. Most nights during a conference, there will be one or two events that are sponsored by a brand or a business or something, and they tend to be in nightclubs or restaurants that are loud. So consider bringing some ear protection. And also, like I said, other essential needs, that lip balm that I was talking about. Make sure you have some water, maybe some throat lozenges if you tend to get dry and your voice affected by all the talking and visiting. Hand sanitizer, lotion. If you're a mask wearer and you might want to, in a larger crowds, that's probably not a bad idea. Bring some masks. Don't forget chargers, power banks, extra cord for your phone. Bring your medicines, breath mints. Oh, big important one when you're talking to a lot of people. And maybe some energy and nutrition bars just to throw in your pocket or your bag, just so if the meals aren't looking so good or the restaurants are too expensive or you just don't feel like eating that much, having a little energy nutrition bar to get that blood sugar back up and those kinds of things and get a little protein in you can really matter. Should you bring business cards? Well, if you're one to carry business cards, I think it's a great idea. Having a business card with the name of your podcast and some contact information makes great sense. I have recently started putting my show logo on one side and a QR code on the other, and people can add me to their phone or get to my website just by scanning that QR code. And oftentimes at these things, your badge will have a QR code also, so you want to sort of get that ready. The QR codes are pretty easy to do. That's a topic for another day. Have your elevator pitch ready. Your elevator pitch is that 30-second or less description of what your show is or what you do, so that when somebody says, hey, tell me about your show, you are ready to, with a sort of rehearsed pitch. Hey, I do a show called Entertainment Law Update, and it's about entertainment law. Our target audience is other lawyers and law students who are interested in the fields of entertainment. We talk about things like copyrights, trademarks, business transactions, patents, and of course, deal making in the entertainment industry. What's your show about? And there you go. It's a great icebreaker. Going to the sessions is a good thing. Obviously, you're there to learn. You're there to gain from it. But remember, you are not in school. Nobody is going to grade you on attendance or even participation, except you. Don't judge yourself too harshly. But go to the sessions if you can. But it's not school. It's okay not to be in the classroom sometimes. Here's another one that some people will want. Bring your gear with you. If you've got a portable recorder or a microphone that plugs into your laptop, bring them. You may decide to do an episode. You may decide to sit down and interview someone. Those kinds of things can be really good. That's the serendipity kind of thing that I'm talking about. And you might make an episode while you're there. And isn't that great? Join conversations. And if you're in a conversation and you see people on the periphery, invite them in. Open up the circle and bring other people in. It's about community and these kinds of things. So offer a helping hand. There is no more congenial, cooperative, helpful bunch than this community, the podcasting community. So let's keep it that way by being kind to one another, helpful, and inclusive. Remember, while attending conferences can be very beneficial, it is important that you plan ahead to make the most of your experience. Set some specific goals for what you want to achieve, prioritize the activities that align with those objectives, and make an effort to engage with the other attendees as actively as possible. So this summer, Podcast Movement is in Denver, Colorado from August 21st to 24th. That's about 10 days. It's 2 weeks from when we're recording. So if you're coming, look for me. I would love to meet up with you, and we could sit down for a few minutes and chat, get to know each other, maybe even that don't eat alone kind of a thing. And my session is on Wednesday, August 23rd at 2:30 in the afternoon local time. I'm going to be joined by my fellow attorney, Lindsay Bowen, for a talk titled Legal Stuff with the Top Podcast Lawyers. And we're going to go over some of the big legal issues, challenges, and solutions that we are seeing and activating in the podcasting arena these days. It's going to be a great session. So if you're attending Podcast Movement, I hope you'll make some time to join the session. And if you can't make it there in person, well, have a look. There are options to purchase the virtual pass or the session recordings that you can consume after the fact. And that's almost as good as being there in person. And don't forget, if you are ready to transform your podcasting journey and take your show to the next level, don't forget to register and access my on-demand training at gordonfiremark.com/podcaster training for that free on-demand webinar training. So that's going to be it for this episode of the podcast, Legit Podcast Pro. I'm Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, and thank you for listening. And I'll catch up to you next time. And meanwhile, keep on getting out there and creating great content. Hope to see you at a conference real soon.